For many weary drivers, a motorway service station is just a place to maybe stretch your legs and get a coffee on a long journey.
Not in Gloucester. At Gloucester Services on the M5, it's earned a reputation as a foodie destination in its own right. It's been serving travellers there for a decade now. Our reporter Steve Nibbs can tell us more.
There aren't many service stations that people choose to visit for a day trip, but this place is different.
Come down to see it because we've heard so much about it, and it's also really lovely to see local produce on all the shelves. So we've been looking at all the bottles to see where the wine is brewed and the beer is brewed and the cider.
I was blown away, if I'm honest. We like the cake, don't we? And you can feel that it's like a community, and you can really tell that people are coming just not because they're travelling.
A decade ago, a big promise from Gloucester Services was offering opportunity to local people who struggled to get into work.
Was it bacon? Bacon.
So let's meet Ryan.
What would you recommend?
Lasagna and chips, because it's my absolute favourite. I love lasagna.
Ryan found getting a job difficult, but he's having a ball here. He was put through an employment programme run by the services and its partner, the Gloucestershire Gateway Trust, and he's currently Gloucester Services Colleague of the Year.
I didn't expect to get that, really, and I'm so proud of myself. I like what I do around the cafe area. I like doing the hot plates and making coffees and going on the till and wiping the tables up every day. It's so special. This place is so special.
We've worked with Stroud screen printer Marcus Walters on a range of T-shirts, sweatshirts that are all about travelling.
But it isn't just about local jobs, it's local suppliers who fill the shelves. 130 of them from a 30-mile radius.
It's a really vibrant network of makers, farmers, growers. We work in partnership with them, so to us it's not just a transactional relationship. And it's been brilliant to see how that network has grown as the business has grown over the last 10 years.
One of those is Zero Dig in Stroud, a social enterprise growing organic veg in the Five Valleys and now supplying the services kitchens and farm shop.
They've been really helpful and supportive of us. They're taking a big proportion of the veg that we produce here. We're able to keep our veg in the local area and their values are very much in line with ours.
40 million visitors over 10 years travelling through Gloucestershire and getting a taste of Gloucestershire too, but also making a difference to the communities that live and work here. Steve Nibbs, BBC News.
So let's talk to Kerry O'Neill, author of The Extra Mile. It's a book about alternative places to eat. Kerry, morning to you. We say alternative. That's quite an alternative. Most people would just choose to kind of pass through these places, but we're saying some of these service stations are a destination in their own right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Bristol. We're a publishing company based in Bristol in the southwest. And I've got people who I'm sure they make up places to go just north of here, so they've got an excuse to go and stop at Gloucester Services. I think it truly is the destination for some people.
And why do you think these places are so special? Is it just the quality of the food, do you think, or is it the whole experience?
I mean, with Gloucester Services, it's interesting from the moment you pull up. You know, they've got that beautiful grass-roofed building that really blends into the surrounds. So, you know, they've taken care from the get-go to make sure that it looks lovely and fits in with the local wildlife, the local community and ecosystems. And I think with Gloucester Services, it really gives you a showcase, a window into the local food, because normally when you get in your car, you're kind of in stasis until you get where you're going. You're surrounded by people you know, music you know in the car. If you stop at the services, then there's brands you're familiar with, coffee outlets, burger outlets you're familiar with. And it's not till you get where you're going that you actually, you know, you experience something new. Whereas with Gloucester Services, it's a real window into all of the local producers and the local tastes and flavours and colours and specialities. Like he mentioned in the piece just there, there's over 130 suppliers who just come from within a 30-mile radius, which is, it's difficult to do that. You know, that's why not everybody does that. It really is very difficult to source that quantity of high quality produce and crafts and books and clothing and food and drink goodies. That it is hard to get that from such in a short radius.
And Kerry, that's what I wanted to ask actually. You know, if this is so amazing and so many people love it, why are others not doing the same? Because I think it's fair to say some others, we won't name names, are pretty rubbish.
Yeah, I'll try not to name names. Yeah, I think with Gloucester Services, not many people know this is that they come from, that they're farmers. It's run by the Westmoreland family, and they're Cumbrian hill farmers. That's how they began. And they've got Gloucester services, and they also run T-Bay services up on the M6, and they also are in charge of one in Scotland called Cairn Lodge. And all three of them, because they're farmers themselves, they understand how difficult it is to farm and how important it is to, you know, to find markets for that local artisanal produce from bakers, makers, you know, food and drinks, brewers and you know, vintners and everything. So because they're farmers themselves, their motivation is local food and keeping and supporting the local food networks, which are so important to the UK, as we noticed during COVID when everything broke down, the supply chains broke down and we were all stuffed. So they really appreciate how important local food networks are to local communities.
Now, you have spent a long time going up and down the UK looking for maybe alternatives to some service stations that aren't quite as good as the ones that we've just been mentioning there. What other places could you go to if you just leave the motorway for a couple of minutes? Is there a lot of choice out there?
There is. I mean, so I write a book called The Extra Mile, and the tagline is Delicious Alternatives to Motorway Services. And it's packed with almost 300 places to go that are just off the junctions. It's not always an extra mile, it might be an extra few miles, but it's always worth making that journey, because what you're doing then is you're supporting these lovely little places that are just so close to the junctions. And otherwise you just pass through these communities, you know, blithely thinking about something else. But if you actually come up at the junction, go a tiny bit, you'll find, you know, cafes in art galleries, you'll find cafes on working farms where the kids can watch cows being milked, you know, through viewing screens as you have your coffee, places with playgrounds, with dog jog fields. You know, there's so many really different places that really add to your journey, so you don't have to go to the services. What's funny with the book is that when I say, oh, I write this book about alternatives to motorway services, the first thing most people say to me is, oh, are Gloucester services in there? And to me, that's interesting. It's because I'm like, hang on, it is a services. Well, it's a service area. And that says a lot to me, is that people don't perceive Gloucester services as a service station because it's so lovely and it's such a nice experience to be there. So I think for me that's very telling, that it's about not going there and yet everyone says, oh, why are they in there? They really need to be in your book.
Oh, Kerry, it is so great to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and for the glowing recommendations of those fabulous service stations. Kerry, thank you.
Loads of people getting in touch with us about how much they love them. Just a couple here. Mel from Gloucester saying her cycle club uses it as a coffee shop, has cake because it's so good. She doesn't cycle on the motorway. Stacey saying she popped down to Gloucester on the way. She loved the bread. Keep your comments coming in about your favourite.